Since moving to the DC area in June of 2021, we've done lots of exploring, and here's a list of some of our favorite outdoor activities, including gardens, walks, and hikes. This list is by no means exhaustive, as we've only just scratched the surface. The list is in no particular order, but we'll provide as much info as we can so you can determine which of these suits your family and their abilities. Located about 1 hour north of DC in Catoctin Mountain Park, Chimney Rock is a loop trail and approximately 3.9 miles long. It's a beautiful hike with great rock formations and scenery as you make your ascent to Chimney Rock. I parked across the street from the park headquarters, which was free, and it's the fastest route to get to the lookout point. You can also park at the visitor center and pick up the trail there. From the park headquarters, it's 1.1 miles straight uphill to Chimney Rock, which is an elevation gain of 823 feet. It's worth the effort though, as the views of the mountains is amazing. Just be cautious as there are large drop-offs in between some of these rocks. Wolf Rock is 0.4 miles further down the trail, and I love this spot. It's a really cool and unique place. I wasn't able to fully explore this area as I was tight for time, but I loved wandering around the rocks and I took some pictures while I was there. Just be careful as there are large and deep crevices all over the place. This hike is somewhat strenuous, but I loved the diverse scenery, rock formations, and views from Chimney Rock. I wouldn't bring my 2-year-old on this hike until she's old enough to understand the dangers, but it's a great family hike for older kids. Brookside Gardens is 40 minutes north of DC and free to enter. There's plenty of parking and the pathways are mostly paved. We've been here several times with Grace, and it's a great spot for her to run around and explore. The last time we visited was over the Christmas holidays for their Christmas light display. This award-winning 50-acre garden has several different areas, and it took us a couple trips to cover it all.
Over here, Daddy!
From the visitor center, you can go left towards the Anderson Pavilion. This path takes you around a pond and into a wooded area, and then loops around towards the conservatories. If you go right from the visitor center, that will take you towards most of the different garden areas, and we would recommend this if you're going for the first time or if you're on a tight schedule. We really like the perennial garden, conservatories, and the Japanese tea house, which is located on an island overlooking a pond full of turtles. The tea house itself is a very interesting space with cool architecture and a very zen vibe. This is a great spot to relax and enjoy the shade and views. Brookside Gardens is great for all ages and abilities, and having been there in the summer, fall, and holiday season, we think this is a good spot to visit most times of the year. Annapolis Rock is 1 hour and 15 minutes from DC. The parking lot is big, but it's a very popular hike, so I'd imagine the parking lot fills up during the warmer months. The day I did the hike, the forecast was calling for rain and snow, so there was only a few cars in the parking lot. Plus, I set out just after sunrise. This is a 5-mile out and back trail. The trail itself is well worn and clearly marked, and they even have some steps built into a couple sections to make the ascent a little easier. We just did quite a bit of elevation, but now we're in a flat section. We're about halfway there. The elevation gain is about 800 feet, but it's mostly at the beginning of the hike. The second half of the hike towards Annapolis Rock is a much more gentle incline. Keep your eyes peeled for the signs directing you left towards the lookout. It's a quarter mile from this point and worth the effort to get there. On this final quarter mile section, you'll pass several campsites and the caretaker's site. The weather turned ugly for me as I approached the lookout, but it was still a fantastic view and I had it all to myself. I managed to get my camera out and take some photos to remember the hike before the rain turned to ice pellets. I can imagine this would be a great hike for sunrise or sunset, but you'd have to cover a lot of ground in the dark. This hike is manageable for most kids, I think, if they can handle the distance. Just be careful when approaching the lookout, as the drop is pretty dramatic and there's sections of it that are obscured by trees right at the edge. Part of the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal National Historic Park, Great Falls Tavern Visitor Center is located on the Potomac River and one of the most popular spots along the canal, as it provides easy access to the Great Falls Overlook Trail. The entrance fee is $20, or free if you have a National Parks annual pass. You can also buy an annual pass for just Great Falls for $35. The tavern opened in 1830 and provided rooms, hot meals, and dancing for travelers. The attic of the tavern was available for honeymooners and cost 50 cents a night. People would take ferries from Georgetown up to Great Falls to escape the city and enjoy the falls and surrounding nature. In those days, the trip would take 6 to 8 hours. Today, Great Falls is a 40-minute drive from DC along the picturesque Clara Barton Parkway. To get to the Great Falls Overlook Trail, head south on the gravel canal towpath for approximately a quarter mile. The overlook is clearly marked on the right-hand side and hard to miss. From here on out, the trail is either a paved bridge or a wooden boardwalk. It's usually busy and the path is pretty narrow, so be warned if you're going during COVID and would prefer to keep your distance from others. You'll cross a couple bridges which go over offshoots from the main falls along the way. The first time we went, we didn't know much about Great Falls, and we thought those were the highlights. They're pretty awesome, but pale in comparison to the main event, so make sure you go right to the end of the trail. Due to the fragile ecosystem of the area, this boardwalk and the viewing platform at the end help restrict the damage done by visitors. The exposed rocks of Great Falls and Mather's Gorge to the south are 550 million years old, and the river carved its path during the last ice age. This is a great family-friendly spot to visit close to DC, but if you're looking for something more adventurous, then stick around for the next spot on our list, just south of Great Falls. About a third of a mile south of the Great Falls Overlook Trailhead is the Billy Goat Trailhead Section A. You can also access the trailhead from the Anglers Inn parking lot, but it's a longer walk to get to the trailhead at about 1.5 miles. While Great Falls Overlook Trail is very easy, the Billy Goat Trail Section A, which is 1.75 miles long, is difficult and should only be attempted if you're comfortable with rock scrambling and heights. The National Park Service rates it as technical and strenuous, and there are over 400 emergency calls and rescues each year on this trail. A lot of the trail is manageable, but it's very rocky and there are a couple sections that require maneuvering between large boulders and scaling the side of a cliff. If you're up for the challenge, then it's worth it for the amazing views as you make your way along the Potomac River. The trail hugs the river the whole way, and there are lots of great spots to stop and enjoy nature. The trail is one way, starting at the northern trailhead and finishing at the southern trailhead, which spits you back out at the canal towpath. At the halfway point, there's an exit trail, which is two-way, so you can do half the trail instead of the full 1.75 miles. So this is where you can get on or off. You don't have to hike the entire trail, but we are hiking the entire trail, so let's keep moving. If the Billy Goat Trail isn't for you or your family, there are several other hikes nearby to suit any skill level, such as the Gold Mine Loop, which is a nice, gently sloping walk through the woods. Located an hour and 15 minutes from DC and just a few minutes east of the historic Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, is Weverton Cliffs. Part of South Mountain State Park, this is a 1.9 mile out and back trail. There's a parking lot on Weverton Cliff Road. I arrived before sunrise and the parking lot was well lit. After parking, walk out to Weverton Cliff Road and go right. Walk past the yield sign and across the road on Weverton Road and you'll find the trailhead. So that's where we started this morning. That's the trailhead, and in this direction is the parking lot. From this point on, it's all uphill until you reach the lookout. It's pretty steep and it's a series of switchbacks the whole way. The terrain isn't difficult to negotiate, it's just steep. Most of this hike is on the Appalachian Trail until you reach the sign directing you right towards Weverton Cliffs lookout. The morning light started to show about 15 to 20 minutes into my hike, and I still made it to the lookout before sunrise. It ended up being cloudier than the forecast predicted, so I didn't get any sunrise, but I did have the whole place to myself. The views of the Potomac with the Virginia mountains behind it were spectacular, even on a cloudy, dull day. It's pretty peaceful up there, and you don't hear too much noise from below, other than the occasional passing train. I spent about an hour taking photos and enjoying the view before heading back down. I passed several hikers on my way down, so if you want to avoid the crowds at the top, I would suggest starting early for this hike. Weverton Cliffs is a great family hike, and you can enjoy the views without getting too close to the edge. But be cautious as the rocks, while solid and offer good friction on your hiking boots, are very uneven, so good balance is important here. Last but certainly not least is Big Meadows in Shenandoah National Park, which is a 2.5-hour drive from DC. Unlike most of Shenandoah, which is heavily forested and mountainous, Big Meadows is a bit of an anomaly with its wide open plains and diverse grasses and wildflowers. This high elevation meadow sits at about 3,500 feet and is a great spot to see deer, birds, and butterflies in the summer. At night, this would be a great spot for stargazing. That was insane. What a sunrise. Oh my gosh. Just incredible. Incredible. Big Meadows is centrally located in Shenandoah with a visitor center, gas station, and accommodations right across Skyline Drive. I've been here twice, once in the summer and again in December. It was pretty busy in the summer with lots of families exploring all the different trails that crisscross the meadows, and the parking lot is small, so time your visit accordingly. When I came in December, I didn't see another soul the entire time I was there. It was a really cool experience having a place like Big Meadows to myself, and I would highly recommend visiting at this time of year. Be sure to call the Shenandoah hotline for up-to-date info regarding winter weather and road closures before heading out. Things can change very quickly in the mountains, so be prepared. I spent several hours just wandering around the meadows, which was easier during the winter months as the grasses are much shorter and you don't have to deal with bugs or ticks. If you're looking for a peaceful place to spend the day and to just enjoy nature and the sound of the wind rustling through the grasses, this is your spot. It's an incredible place to explore and enjoy the views. It's my favorite place in Shenandoah just because it feels so different from the surrounding areas, and the sunrises and sunsets are epic here. This is a great spot for kids of all ages, as there's no cliffs or mountain peaks to worry about. The whole area is relatively flat and easy to traverse. There's plenty of wildlife to be seen and plenty of room to roam and explore at your own pace. Those were some of our favorite outdoor activities from the last 6 months, and we hope you enjoyed watching. See you next time.